Some people say that we are witnessing the greatest era of cycling. And I don't even want to discuss it. Yeah, it's true. It's obvious. Today I'll be talking about Tadej Pogacar and UAE Team Emirates in particular, and how their presence affects the entertaining aspect of our sport. The reality is that now Tadej Pogacar absolutely dominates every race he enters. So for the 25 season, his worst result was third, and the only two people who are better at some points are Remco Evenepoel and Mathieu van der Poel. So Remco is better at time trial, but who cares? Time trial in itself is not an interesting event. The only time when time trial actually matters is at the Grand Tours, because it determines the GC rankings. And as the Dauphiné showed it, okay, yeah, Remco can win the time trial against Pogacar even by minutes, but who cares if it doesn't actually do anything in terms of GC, because then there comes the mountain stages and Remco loses his fucking 5 minutes. So in terms of entertaining, this time trial margin doesn't do anything. Mathieu van der Poel, on the other hand, yeah, he actually makes the summer one-day races interesting, but in this video we won't be talking about one-day races. This is about the Tour de France and the other Grand Tours. So how's the situation there? So in the Grand Tours, a couple of years ago, the situation was different. We had Jonas Vingegaard, who was very close to Tadej Pogacar. They were in seconds. And then at some point, the race just blows up because Vingegaard wins the time trial by a minute and then Pogacar is dead in the mountains. And the same situation happened the other year. So what changed? So it turns out that either Pogacar was stronger, became stronger, or Vingegaard had a few broken ribs. We don't care. So in the 2024 season, the Vingegaard had no chance of winning Tour de France, sadly, and it was a one-gate race. The situation seemed to be the same for the 25. Now, this video is done before the Tour de France. I don't know where it's published, but probably, yeah, this year the situation will be similar. And recently, the Critérium du Dauphiné was won by Pogacar, and his performances there made many people concerned. There were many accusations of doping, and I don't want to talk about that because I think that it doesn't matter. Either he's doping, others doping, no one is doping, it doesn't matter. The problem is that, yeah, some people call it boring, it's not entertaining for the sport, and I will dive into it and try to explain why I think so. Well, now, obviously, first of all, let's understand that it's nobody's fault. It's not Pogacar's fault. It's not the Tour de France fault. Nothing. It just happened, okay? So, what do we as spectators want? We want a close race. We want to know who will. We don't want to know who will win the race. For example, the Giro d'Italia was great. Why? Because before the last race, before the last stage, we didn't know who would actually win. But, for example, there was a last year Giro, and Pogacar won over by 10 minutes. It was obvious that he's winning the Giro after, even before he started, even before the Giro started, it was so obvious that for many people it became uninteresting to watch. Yeah, he's racing great, he's aggressive, he's fun, he's one to watch. The problem is that there is no emotional tension behind this win. And the same was at Dauphiné. People commented that well, Vingegaard is fucking dying on the bike to come second, and Pogacar, he's nose breathing. It's his own to ride for him. He's not even trying. Okay, but what's the problem with that? What's the problem with UAE Team Emirates in particular? Okay, so let's say that we want a closer race. Of course, the situation where random people throw nails in front of Pogacar, or I don't know, throwing bottles at him like it was with Van der Poel on Paris-Roubaix, that's not a great way. We don't want that. We also don't want to get anyone injured or sick or crash out of tour or something. Let's talk about what can actually happen, and everyone would be okay with that. So, what the Critérium du Dauphiné and the previous Tour de France showed is that Pogacar is actually better than Vingegaard on all terrain. It wasn't like that always. It was thought that Pogacar is like a burst. He can do short climbs. hilly terrain, rolling terrain, but when it comes to a long, hard mountain stages, then Jonas steps up because he has like more stamina, he's better the third week, he's better at the longer climbs, he's better at altitude. So the strategy was for Jonas not to lose that much time, and then when the stage is hard, he's winning like 1 or 2 stages by a big margin, that's enough to win the Tour. It was fun to watch, and actually I think that Pogacar had very decent chances to win the 22 and 23rd Tour de France. He didn't really... He actually lost the Tour in one stage. Every time he was losing the Tour in 1 or 2 stages. Before that it was very close. Now Pogacar is better than Jonas on all terrain. He's a better climber, he do the short climbs better, he has a better burst, he's more aggressive, and he can do the longer climbs better. Again, maybe the Dauphiné wasn't the penultimate, comparison, but I doubt that things will really change in 3 weeks. But again, no offense to Pogacar, it's not that he's we're not blaming him for that he's better. Again, how a race can be more entertaining. Here where the UAE Team Emirates step up, and well, Visma in particular. So, okay, Pogacar is better than Vingegaard. What about the team? And the problem is that the UAE Team Emirates is better than Visma. Okay, not in terms of strategy, not in terms of management, team car, so on, just as individual riders. And well, it's obvious because they have more money. It's no secret here. So, Pogacar is better than Vingegaard, and he has better domestics. Let's watch this clip of Dauphiné. So we see that Pogacar is attacking, he's jumping away from Jonas, and Jonas can't hold the wheel. Okay, we're not blaming not Jonas, not Pogacar here, but let's say that Jonas here had a domestique who had helped him to close the gap, and they rode with Pogacar, and he rode on the wheel of Pogacar for the rest of the stage. I think that it would be more interesting and entertaining for the sport. But Jonas doesn't have a domestique. And you know why? Well, because Tadej Pogacar's domestiques, they fucking blew up the race 3 minutes ago. No offense to Sepp Kuss or Campanats or Kruijswijk, or I don't remember who exactly, but his teammates there. But first, the UAE Team Emirates shreds the peloton. They shred the Visma also. Vingegaard is isolated. And then Pogacar does him. Completely. Well, for example, a couple years ago, the famous Col du Galibier stage happened, where, let's say that Pogacar still was a little bit okay. Pogacar was better than Vingegaard, questionably, but okay. But Visma had a stronger team. Or Pogacar had weaker domestiques, we don't know, but whatever. And it was very entertaining. Now the situation is different. And okay, I'm not saying that okay, let's fire half of UAE Team Emirates, or let Pogacar ride Remco, where his Zudal is so bad it's useless, or so bad compared to Visma and UAE. No, but in this video I want to address the reason why it's probably like this, and the reason why it probably won't change. For me, there is absolutely no problem that the UAE is the best team in the world. The problem is the reason why it's the best. And the reason is obvious: money. It's the team with the most budget. What Visma supposed to do if Vingegaard loses to Pogacar on all terrain and his domestiques are almost useless again because the Pogacar domestiques are better? At least this was a situation for the Criterium du Dauphiné. So the way that the UAE Team Emirates is sponsored, and it's just one-way money tube from UAE Emirates, well, that's obvious. This way provides the lack of emotional backstory for the win. Now, this year's Giro was a great example of this. So what UAE did was an absolute terrible performance. Del Toro... No offense to Del Toro, Isaac Del Toro, he was absolutely smashed in the media, in the comments. Yeah, we know the whole team got a lot of backlash for its performance, and obviously they lost the Giro. Some may say it was stupid, ignorant. Anyway, they dusted it. It wasn't really an easy win, but they could have won it, and they didn't. The problem is that in hindsight, they don't care. It doesn't matter will they win the Giro or not, because, well, you know, UAE Team Emirates, they have Tagej Pogacar, they have Tour de France, that they will win, and if you're winning Tour de France, who cares what, place at the Giro you were? It's not like the salary of riders will be halved because they lost the Giro. I don't think that Isaac Del Toro had anything to do with the management. I don't think that the management said to him, "Oh, why you lost the Giro? It's ratings." They don't care. Okay, I think that they make it look like they care, but again, in hindsight, the position that Isaac Del Toro finishes at the Giro doesn't matter anything to the team in terms of finance, in terms of the team well-being. They still have the same salaries, they still will have all the same people in the team. Nothing will change except for emotions of Isaac Del Toro or the state of Mexican fans of cycling. That's the only stake that they're racing at. On the other hand, there is Visma. And for Visma, winning the Giro is huge because they might not have this chance at the Tour de France. And, Visma is actually a team with a tight budget. They need money for the team to operate, and how can you get money if you're not winning races? And if I talked about the Giro, let's talk about the Yates brothers, the Adam Yates and Simon Yates. They're a great example of this. Both of them are very great riders, phenomenal, fantastical climbers, guys with a GC ambition. And one of them is much more fun to watch than the other, even though, let's say that they're the same, as the level of entertainment themselves, they're probably the same. So what's the difference between Adam and Simon? Well, you see, Adam is just a domestique for Pogacar. He's riding at the Team Emirates with no real purpose or risk. Well, the purpose is making money. He has a salary, it's obvious. But there are no risks, really. While Simon, he transferred to Visma this year, and winning the Giro for him is huge. Because he's winning the Giro with a new team. He lost the Giro in 2018. It's his biggest monument, probably. Not the monument, the win of his career. And it's his last chance to do this. Really. And his life really depends on it. Because, well, if he doesn't win the Giro, maybe what will be with his career next year? We don't know. Maybe his kids won't get food, because he lost the Giro. And Adam? Well, if the Pogacar crashes out of Tour de France, or comes second, nothing changes. It will not really make a deal for Team Emirates or their riders. Yeah, of course, if Pogacar stops winning the Tour de France, and I don't know if this can happen, but whatever, or if the Pogacar retires and the team doesn't find a new Pogacar, then the whole project probably will be cancelled and the team will stop existing just as it didn't exist before Pogacar came to cycling. So what I want to say that every time someone wins a Grand Tour or a monument or even a stage, it's usually a great deal for the team who won, for the person. It actually means something. Look at the Matej Mohoric interview. And it's not the case for UAE Team Emirates. We're all happy for Simon Yates, not just because he won the Giro, but because if he didn't win the Giro, it would be very bad for him, It was his last chance. It's proved that this 2018 Col de Finestra was true. It would negatively impact his life and his situation with Visma. But in terms of UAE Team Emirates, it's not the case. If Pogacar loses the Tour de France, it almost means nothing, because they'll come like with the same team for the next year, and that's it. If Isaac Del Toro comes second, well, he came second at the Giro, it was a drama for him, but not for the team. You know, the risks of Simon Yates losing the Giro are far, far worse than the risks of Del Toro losing the Giro. So most of the teams, they have history, they have emotional background, while UAE Team Emirates is just like, it's a Tadej Pogacar in his white champion of the world kit, and other like white kits, jerseys. That's it. We don't know anything about them, because there is nothing to know. Look at the red helmet of Jonas Vingegaard. He's actually the second best cyclist in the world, and he still needs a personal sponsors to, function in terms of finance. So we actually look at teams by their sponsors, like there is a Lidl Trek. I know Lidl, I know Trek, but, well, UAE Team Emirates, what are you riding for? Why? And so now, unfortunately for me, in order for race to be interesting, there have to be no Tadej Pogacar in it. Not because if he is there, he will win. No, but because if he's there and he wins, it doesn't mean anything. Not for him, nor for the team. In other words, I want a person who actually risks something for the win, so that I know that if he doesn't win, there'll be very bad consequences for him. But if the person is racing for the win, with the thing in mind that if he doesn't win, actually nothing happens, it's not really interesting to watch. Because, well, I admit it, I watch this for the entertainment, not for the purpose of, witnessing the sport itself. No, it's not the reason. Tour de France is a show, it's a festival. If I want to watch the sport in itself, I don't know, I would go to a camp at Sierra Nevada, not the Tour de France. So actually, for now, I just want the UAE Team Emirates to be disbanded, and all of the members to go for the different teams and find for Tadej Pogacar a different team, so that the Visma will be the strongest team, but the Pogacar will be the strongest rider. And so the strongest rider would have to win the Tour with a not so strong team, and vice versa. I'm not saying that the Visma is the best team and it should win the Tour de France because I love Visma. No, I don't care who wins the Tour de France, in hindsight. All I want is that for it to be a competition, you have to be competitive. I don't want it to be the show-off of UAE Team Emirates, airlines, the oil, or whatever the money comes from. Who cares about the airlines itself? No one. We don't know. We don't even associate the UAE Team Emirates with, Emirates. We associate them with Tadej Pogacar. And I don't want the Tadej Pogacar team. Anyway, the Criterium du Dauphiné really left some concerns about the future of cycling, but nevertheless, I still think it's entertaining, it's great, and we do live in the best era of cycling. So, okay, let's watch the Tour and see if things change. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know.